what's up? I'm Patrick Stump, and I'm sitting here with a computer full of questions. So, yeah, let's answer some. I think, maybe. Hira from Manchester asks, what have you enjoyed the most about being a solo artist? Making the music, I think, is probably the most enjoyable thing. I mean, it's a silly thing, but to be a musician, like, you know, when you see musicians and performers and stuff off stage, you know, you never think about it. But if you see them a lot, they're not really making music. And some people really enjoy, you know, going to parties or taking photos and stuff like that, whatever. I enjoy talking to people about music, which is fun. But in general, I'm always happier making music. So that's the best thing, easily. So, whoa.
Is it working?
Yeah. Beth from Birkenhead wants to know, Beth from Birkenhead wants to know, do you have anything you really want to do before you die? Aside from, you know, trying not to die. I think, I mean, yeah, all the normal stuff. Everyone wants to, you know, grow old and have a family and stuff like that. I think beyond that, not really. I've kind of done all the cool stuff. I kind of want to, you know, there's someone's last words, dying words were, you know, if only I had time for one more bowl of chili, right? And I kind of feel like I'm not a big chili fan. I like chili, but not as much as mine would probably be Indian food or ramen. But nonetheless, I kind of feel like, you know, maybe just in general as it extends to experiencing cool things and making sure. The one thing I want to do before I die is make sure that I didn't live like an idiot and I did it right. So, Ruwaida from England wants to know, is Fall Out Boy still a band? Yes. Jamie from Evansville, Indiana wants to know, what are your favorite things to do when you're not making music? I really like. I really enjoy ethnic food, which is a silly title, ethnic food, because it's relative only to what ethnicity you are. But nonetheless, I just mean like, which usually ends up meaning Asian food in the United States. You say ethnic food. I like a lot of Asian food. I like you know, various types of Chinese food and Japanese food and Korean food and Vietnamese food and Filipino food and Thai food and Indian and Pakistani food and Mediterranean food. So whatever. That's something that I really enjoy, is kind of going and experiencing new places for that. And I do like trying out really out there restaurants too. Like they have a lot of the gastro pubs and really forward thinking, almost like laboratory stuff in Chicago. I like to go to that a lot. And then, I mean, I'm kind of I was kind of a film buff, but I really haven't been. I've been working too hard. I haven't been able to see anything for a while, so I think I might have lost my film nerd cred. But I do study a lot of film stuff. So I think, and then just family, friends, normal things. Usually that involves family and friends going to see movies and eating ethnic food. So. Nisa from Melbourne wants to know, what were your main influences during the writing process for Soul Punk? That's question one. Question two is, would you go on an international tour for this record? Of course, I'd love to do as much touring as possible. You know, I've been working on it, and I'm not forget. I get that question a lot, and I feel really bad because every time I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, of course, and it just sounds like a lot of talk until I actually get there. So, but I am planning on it. It's very logistically hard and expensive to tour everywhere, but I really want to get back to you know, if you're asking Melbourne, I would love to get back to Melbourne. It's been a while. As far as main influences during the writing process for Soul Punk, I just went for whatever I just wrote and didn't think about it. You know, I think I am probably most obviously influenced by Prince and Michael Jackson and David Bowie and um, hip hop and just in general, whatever, everything from Backpacker, Tribe Called Quest stuff, old school Sugar Hill stuff to like Timbaland to to Dre to whatever. Everybody has their thing. So I think those are probably the most obvious influences on the record. But I think I wasn't really cognizant of it. I just kind of wrote and worried about it later. Not answering that one. Sarah from London asks, "What is your favorite place to visit for vacation?" I never get vacation. Because vacation for me is going home. Holiday for me is going home because I'm never home. So so at this point, that would be a really nice vacation. Jackie from Detroit, Michigan wants to know, what kind of odd jobs did I do before being in a band? I used to work at a Jewel Osco in the frozen foods department, which is they're a supermarket in Chicago, and I used to work there stocking and facing frozen foods, and I would wear like 5 pairs of gloves, and my hands would still be frozen. And I also worked at a couple record stores. At the same time, I worked at a mall record store and like an indie record store at the same time, and that was like 2 other worlds. And now, there's not a lot of physical record stores anymore. So, hey, I was there. And then I also the last job I had was I worked at Borders Books and Music, which I think also not there. It's sad. I really like Borders. But I worked at Borders in the cafe. I made coffee and stuff. And I drink a lot of coffee now. I did not drink coffee at the time, which is kind of ironic, because I had all the free coffee I could have wanted. Dana from Baton Rouge, Louisiana wants to know, who have you had the most fun working with in your career so far? I mean, are we talking quantity? I think obviously that would be Fall Out Boy. But I don't know. I mean, it's I don't know. That's too hard. That's too hard. I guess I'd say Fall Out Boy by default, just because that's who I've collaborated with most of my life. So. Bethany from Tulsa, Oklahoma wants to know, how do you typically begin writing your songs? There's not really a typical way, I kind of, there's a lot of ways that a song happens, sometimes a phrase will get in your head and you'll write it around a lyric, sometimes, you'll have a beat in your head, you'll have a guitar line in your head, you'll have a horn line in your head or something, and and then it extends from there. So, it can really happen in any number of ways, but, usually it starts with some little germ of an idea. Jessica from Roanoke, Virginia wants to know, what advice would you give to other aspiring singer-songwriters? First off, for songwriters, I'll cover that, and then I'll get to singers. For songwriters, there's nothing wrong with form. There's nothing wrong with a box. T.S. Eliot said something along the lines. I'm misremembering the quote verbatim, but it's that the imagination is never as taxed as when restrictions are placed on it. You can really, if you have, if you give yourself a framework to work within, verse, chorus, all those things, and a lot of younger songwriters really look down on that. But I'm telling you, it'll strengthen your songwriting to know how to do that. Once you have a framework, then you end up surprising yourself with how out it can end up sounding, how crazy it can end up sounding. And I mean that with chords, with everything. Start with the basics. Start with the basic building blocks. Look at what other songwriters use. Start there, and then from there you can get more. Then bring out your seventh chords and your wacky time signatures and stuff, because then you'll be much more equipped to handle them. For singers, drink room temperature water constantly, not hot, not cold, not don't worry about tea and all that other stuff. It's cool, but and ice water and whatever. Just normal water. Hydrate your voice. Hydrate your throat. Don't try too hard. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, and they really ruin their voice and really do a lot of damage. Right now, as I am talking, my voice is a little bit raspy and a little bit rough from staying up and talking too late. Be aware of that. You know, you kind of have to make some social sacrifices to have to perform well. Get a lot of sleep, not too much sleep, but get a full night's rest, and just stay hydrated. And when you perform, don't do these. I see a lot of people do these stances where like, big note, I'm gonna go for the big note. Don't do that. You're constricting your vocal passages and everything. You're and sing from the diaphragm. That's like the best vocal lesson I can give in 2 seconds. Or it was a lot longer than 2 seconds, but whatever. I'm going to answer this one. Hannah from, is it Leicester? I can never remember because there's a few places. Hannah from Leicester, England, or Leicester, depending on who you ask. If you ask a dumb American, we're going to say the wrong one, but I think it's Leicester. But are there any songs on your iPod that you're embarrassed to have? No, and I think it's important to get beyond that idea. I think people are so worried about what other people think and insecure, and it's like, if you like something, you like something. There's nothing you can do about that, and you should just embrace that, and you should just be happy. It's not, you didn't choose whether or not you like it, and if you did, that's stupid. It's, I don't know. I'm not, this isn't attacking you. I'm saying in general, there are a lot of people who, I always hear this thing, this guilty pleasure. I hear from a lot of people like, oh yeah, yeah, that song, whatever. But it's like, no, you dig it. Just dig it. Just enjoy what you enjoy, and don't worry about it, and you'll be much happier in life. Gina from Philadelphia asks, what are your plans for the rest of 2011? Well, I'm in Philadelphia today, and I'm going to be playing, and I'm very excited about that. And then from tomorrow onward, I'm going to be playing a lot of shows, and I want to be touring as much as possible. How many more do I have? One more. Julian from Quezon City asks, what instrument did you learn to play and at what age? Julian from Quezon City asks, what instrument did you learn to play first and at what age? And how many instruments do you know how to play? The only instrument I've really ever had instruction on was drums, and I really didn't take that many lessons on it either. I just kind of, a lot of it was just me hitting buckets and stuff. But drums are my first love and my first instrument, and everything goes back to drums to me. Every instrument that I've ever learned, I still equate to drums, and even as a singer, I still think of my voice as a rhythm instrument. I still see everything in terms of drums, and because of that, I can kind of fake it on a few instruments. I don't really consider myself to be great at anything. Jack of all trades, master of none. But I on the record play, all manner of drums, lots and lots of different types of drums: bass, guitar, keyboards. That includes synthesizers and organs and pianos and things like that. A little bit of trumpet, a little bit of trombone, and a tiny bit of saxophone, which I suck at. Yeah. So, thank you very much for listening and asking questions and having me. And somewhere above me is a link to my Facebook and or Twitter. It's facebook.com/PatrickStump and twitter.com/PatrickStump. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.